is a bombshell story. Letitia James, who went after Donald Trump, claiming that he was fraudulently raising money through loans on his properties, accused of doing the exact same thing, claiming that a property out of state was going to be her primary residence, allegedly to get better interest rates on the loan. Because when you're getting a mortgage, primary residence cheaper than an investment property or second property. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the story just got a whole lot worse. Democrats are seeking to create a shield for Letitia James or anybody in New York that if Trump comes after them, they're going to make the taxpayers cover the legal bills. That's right. See, this is the problem that the right has. Donald Trump might go after these people, but the right does not engage in these kinds of solidarity tactics. Democrats do. Look, Georgia goes after Trump's lawyers. New York goes after Trump. Wisconsin goes after Trump's lawyers. Why aren't Republicans and conservatives in red states doing the same thing to Democrats? Here's the story. Albany sneaks in budget language that would put New York taxpayers on the hook for Tish James's legal bills if probed by the Trump administration. Taxpayers could be on the hook for the legal bills of Letitia James that she racks up during a DOJ probe into her alleged fraudulent real estate dealings. New York's operations budget bill includes specific language that indicates certain state officials could tap into a $10 million fund to cover any reasonable attorney's fees and expenses incurred as part of a Trump administration-led probe tied to their state-based employment. Multiple sources told the Post that the language in the bill, which will be made public later Wednesday, would apply to Letitia James's looming legal fight. Let me just stress this. While she was claiming that Donald Trump fraudulently sought loans, she's accused of doing the exact same thing. This, in fact, if her primary residence was out of state, would have voided her position in New York to go after Donald Trump. It's corruption, pure corruption. They say it would also cover other state employees whom the Trump administration considers going after. That is basically going to be infinite legal funds. Now, to be fair, you're basically saying the federal government versus the state of New York, which will be interesting. While the bill language shared with the Post doesn't mention James by name, the relevant section indicates state employees could be covered if the legally compulsive process was initiated by the U.S. government after January 1st, 2025. You see? James, who infamously declared that no one is above the law when she was prosecuting former President Donald Trump, was hit with a DOJ criminal referral for instances of alleged mortgage fraud last month. Take a look at this. I hereby declare that I intend to occupy this property as my principal residence. Oopsie. Whoopsie. Did you make a mistake there with the wrong form? Yeah, sure. Virginia, no less. The state of Virginia and Norfolk. Insane. The bill would cover those who, quote, obtained representation by private counsel in response to any request, summons, command, subpoena, warrant, investigative interview, or document request, audit, or legally compulsive process initiated after January 1st, 2025 by the United States government and in which the employee was or involved as a result of the employee's New York State employment or duties. Literally, they are only doing this to shield her from accountability. So what do? What games? It's amazing. We keep hearing from these centrist types, don't do anything to fight back. Let them just run roughshod over the Constitution and get away with their crimes. Let me ask you this. Why would a state ever create a shield provision for someone in employment who's being investigated by the U.S. government? Honest question right here. It says, not Letitia James by name, that if she's getting probed in any way by the U.S. government, they're going to pay her bills. Why? Why would the state cover the bills of someone accused of wrongdoing? Honest question. They are lining themselves up against the federal government is what they're doing. James plans to rely on both state funds and private legal defense to fight the battle, a spokesman for the AG's office confirmed. Donald Trump promised a vicious revenge tour when he ran in 2024, and he's put Attorney General James top of the list, and we're ready to respond to these attacks. I want to stress, Trump didn't say anything. It's Bill Pulte over at Housing Development. He said there is, let me put a revenge tour. There's a document where you claimed, lady, that Norfolk, Virginia would be your primary residence. August 7th was the expiration of power of attorney. Tell me this. How, as AG of New York, you are going to live in Virginia? Revenge. Yeah, more like accountability and justice against criminals. Federal Housing Finance Agency Director William Pulte had sent a letter to U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi on April 14th asking to investigate and consider prosecuting James, alleging she falsified bank documents and property records. He alleged James falsely listed a home in Virginia as her principal residence. Records show that James was listed as a co-borrower on a house being purchased by her niece. Excuse me. New York GOP Chair Ed Cox quickly lashed out over the move to slip a legal bailout to James, calling it an outrageous abuse of power and a slap in the face to every New Yorker. This is what corruption looks like in plain sight. Political insiders rigging the system to protect their own, while hardworking families get shortchanged. Tish James used her office to wage partisan lawfare against her political opponents, and now New Yorkers are footing the bill for the consequences. The Democrats lied, cheated, and stole. They ripped the Constitution to shreds to steal political power, and they lost. But it's not over. I interviewed Sebastian Gorka, and I asked him about many things. He said the deep state's not been defeated, that they're not even, his idea was we may be winning this fight in a sense, but they're powerful. They're fighting back. If Donald Trump does not get the job done in the next 3 years, we're in trouble. All of us. They are going to retaliate. They are going to violate the rights of everybody with smiles on their faces. And we saw what they did to the J6ers. I can sit down with a liberal and I can say they denied access to evidence, 44,000 hours of surveillance footage. Now, you may be wondering, how do you get 44,000 hours? Because of all the cameras are each producing, if there's 1,000 cameras and they each produce, 2,000 cameras, each producing 22 hours of footage. There you go. Denied. Wrong charges. They are charged with obstruction. Wrong charges. Some people were put in solitary for years without a trial. You bring this up to liberals and they say, so what? Enrique Tarrio wasn't even there. One guy was in Texas. They raided the home of a woman in Alaska who looked like another woman. Wasn't even there. They violated the rights of the American people. They lied about police dying on January 6th. They will do it again. Trump has to win. Now, Steve Bannon says, expect to see some arrests in the summer. Hopefully, we get real accountability. But look what they're doing. They are going to give Tish James the weight of the state to protect herself. They are going to force the New York taxpayers to fund this. Why? Because it shows they intend to do more. This shield law they're creating ain't just about Tish James. It's about any and everything they may try to do. They wanted Trump in prison. Did you guys know these fraud charges? Trump appealed them. They've not been ruled on. Now, why is that? It's been now 8 months, longer than 8 months. No, about 8 months since this trial had its appeal. 8 months. They've heard the arguments. Why won't they issue a ruling? I think the judges are terrified. They know that Trump didn't do anything wrong. They also know they don't want to go up against the state, and that is the state of New York. I believe that Trump and us in the DOJ are prepping to go after more people. They raided the FBI field office, Southern District of New York. Apparently, they've got tens of thousands of Epstein documents and they're not releasing it. There's a press conference earlier today where Pam Bondi said we're going through all these videos and all this footage, and a lot of people are just like, I don't buy it. My friends, I trust Cash. I trust Dan. Dan Bongino did not give up the biggest live show in the country every day. He did not give it up to go take a job that pays relatively nothing compared to what he was making as a massive media personality. He didn't give that all up to do nothing. If the man wanted to retire, there's better ways to retire. He can go hang out at MMA fights and schmooze and drink beer with celebrities. He doesn't got to get involved in this. He doesn't got to put his name on the line. So I am confident. I give them every benefit of the doubt. Maybe if we're 2027, in the mid of 2027, and we're not seeing anything, I might get worried. Maybe 2028, the beginning of an election year, they've accomplished nothing. I'll be very worried. But for right now, it's been 3 or 4 months, 3.5 months. Let's see what we can get done. I'll wrap it up there. Stay tuned. We got Timcast IRL coming up tonight at 8 p.m. Be there. Follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast, and we'll see y'all then.